What makes a good salesperson? There's a good question. Very, very difficult. Everyone has their own ideas of that, their own opinions and everything on that. But I recently read an article that I thought was quite fascinating. And it talked about the 10 key things that all good salespeople possess. Now, I'm not for 2 minutes saying that these are the 10 key areas that I would put in any order and say that they were mine. They're not mine. But I do look at them and say, yeah, I can relate to that. And I can understand why somebody would think that these are important. It's hard to know really what are the 10 most important things, because a good salesperson is good at numerous things, various areas. Probably a lot more than 10. If it was 10, it would be simple. There's probably 30, 40, 50, 60. And then good salespeople also do things that they don't probably even realize that they do. So therefore, I'm just going to concentrate coming back to the article on the key things that this article said. If I use a flip chart just for a second, and I'm going to go through some of them one at a time. And the first one is persistency. Persistency. The article said that all good salespeople are persistent. And I suppose the reality is that that's true. We need to be good at keeping going. A word that was used for me many, many years ago was a word called stickability. Keeping going. You know, when all else fails and you don't think you're going to get that sale, and just keep going and keep going at it. The difficulty, though, when it comes to areas like this, is not really just the keeping going of sales, but the main difficulty is actually knowing when to stop as well. Because it is important to be persistent. There's no question about that. But as I read many years ago, that sometimes it's easier to give birth than resurrect the dead. The reality is persistency is important. You have to keep at it. You have to keep asking. You have to keep going with the prospect and trying to get to the stage where the prospect does say yes. But the other side of that is that as well as that, you also need to find that area that says enough is enough and move on. Because you don't want to annoy people, and it's hard for me to teach people that area. But I am saying that yes, persistency is important, and it is one of the key things to sales, and you have to keep at it. Even on a bad day, even after no, after no, after no, after no, all the rejection that you have to deal with, persistency is vital. But you also have to remember, it's easier to give birth than resurrect the dead. If somebody isn't going to do business with you, move on and find somebody. Just an element of moving on and finding somebody that will. There was an interesting statistic there recently that said salespeople would prefer to spend more time with suspects that they get on with but will never buy than with prospects that might have a chance of buying. And it's an interesting point when we think about it, and I think we've all done that. So the first thing that this article said was persistency is vital. The second one, empathy. Well, being able to create a bit of empathy with the client and a bit of understanding is vital. Empathy particularly is important when we have to manage objections. And I have a video about managing objections, and you'll see how important empathy comes into that. It is difficult, but we do need to be able to see things from the client's point of view, from the client's perspective, and everything like that. And if we can sell with the client in mind, as opposed to ourselves in mind, then we should automatically show empathy. And selling is all about looking at it from the client's point of view and why they might want something or why they may need something. It has nothing to do with us. It's the client's point of view that's important in sales. Questioning. You know, most salespeople nowadays suffer from premature presentation. What they do is they go into a prospect and all they do is talk about the product, the product, the product, the product. When in reality, what they should be doing is asking questions. Effective, good questions to the prospect about what are they currently using, how are they currently finding that, whatever it might be. You know, what are they seeking, etc., etc. Good open questions. Again, there's a video about establishing needs, and we'll cover that in more detail. But the key area is we have to get good at sitting down and asking the prospect questions. If we get good at that, we have a chance. The idea of product selling does not work. Well, if we ask questions, the next thing we have to do is we have to listen. What are the key skills? One of the major attributes for salespeople is the ability to listen. What is it they say? God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And when we're in selling, we need to use them in that proportion. It's vitally important in sales that we do ask good, relevant questions, and we do actually listen to the answers. Quite often we think we're listening, but really we should be asking ourselves, what is this answer really telling me? And where do I go next with it? Listening is a skill that we all think we're very good at, but believe you me, vitally important is the ability to listen, because the prospect will say things that will lead you further down the field of the sale if you listen effectively. What a word, belief. I honestly believe, and that's not a pun, that belief is one of the key things. We must have a belief in the product we're selling. We must have a belief in our own ability to sell it. We must have a belief in the company we're working for. We must have a belief that it is going to solve the prospect's needs. We must have a belief that we're able to sell all the benefits of this, and the benefits of this product will actually help the prospect. We need to have belief in what we're doing. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why, don't ask me how it happens, but I can assure you, if we don't have belief and conviction in what we're selling, our prospects will see straight through it. Belief and conviction are vitally important. Friendly, pleasant, friendly, call it whatever word you like. You get one chance to create a good first impression, and it is vital that we take that chance. Being friendly is a vital component of an attribute of any salesperson. Do your prospects want you to be their best friends? Of course not. But they want you to be pleasant, they want you to be friendly. They don't want to be best friends, but they do want you to have a pleasant demeanour and manner and everything like that about you. Being friendly is vitally important. And by the way, just let me say to you as well, you may be going in to see prospect Mr. X or Mr. Y or whoever it is, or Mrs. X or Miss X or Miss Y or whatever. Do not ignore the people around you, because you never know the person at the reception, the person who lets you in, you don't know what the influences they have on these people. Friendly is vitally important all the way through. Once you start your sales day, just be friendly with everybody. Managing objections. Will everyone say, God, I'm delighted you came in, and yes, I'm ready to buy that product from you here and now? And the answer is no. We will all have objections at some stage in the sales process. Objection handling is a skill. There is a skill set for objection handling. And as I said before, I have a video on objection handling and the key steps to managing objections effectively. And once you can master that, you can manage any objections. Most people will find objections easy to handle once they can follow a pattern and a set structure, step by step. But some people just fall at the first hurdle of anyone giving any objection. An objection is usually based on people not having enough information, and you need to find a way to actually just get over that. Objection handling is a skill. Closing sales. I think I've mentioned it in the video about the fear of rejection. Some of the biggest problems that salespeople have is the ability to close. You know, I worked with somebody once, and you know, I have to say probably the greatest gift this individual had was he was able to relate to everybody. He was able to get on well with everybody. Everybody loved him. And on the surface, you would imagine this person would be the greatest salesman ever. The reality was he wasn't. Because what actually happened when he was in a sales situation, he got on so well with people, but he couldn't move from the social side of the call into the business side of the call to actually ask for the order. You know, anybody that knows me will know that I love acronyms, and AFTO is an acronym I live by, which is ask for the order. Always ask, always ask. Ask and you shall receive. Ask and you might get a no, but at least ask. Closing is a skill. And again, there are numerous ways to close sales. And again, these are all covered in the video, How to Effectively Close Sales. People skill. Oh, I don't know. I just wish I had a bottle I could put some kind of liquid in and say, here, drink this and you'll have great people skills. Because it really, really is a great asset to any salesperson. Being good with people, being able to relate to people, being able to make people feel comfortable in your surroundings, all of these things are important. There's a saying that I read many years ago, and the saying is that some people light up the room when they walk in, and some people light up the room when they walk out. The important thing is that you have the ability to try and light up a room when you walk in, particularly in sales. It really is important. It is a skill. It is a skill that is quite difficult to teach. It's all about building rapport. It's all about imaging. It's all about lots of other individual things. Some people have a natural ability for it. Some people find it more difficult. But people skills are vitally important. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how cost effective your product is. People still buy people. Now I'm going to say that again because it is important. People buy people. The reality is, yes, of course the cost comes into it, the product comes into it, I'm not saying that, but people buy people. It is an attribute that if you have it, you'll be excellent in sales, and one attribute that people just find difficult to learn or have or anything like that. Summarizing and clarifying. One of the greatest skills that salespeople can have. But it has to go together with questioning, it has to go together with empathy, it has to go together with listening. And if we get good at summarizing and clarifying, then really sales is easy. If we get good at saying things like, so what you're really telling me is, so are you saying boom? Are you saying whatever it is? Can I just clarify what we're saying here? Because a sale is all about questioning and listening. Questioning and listening. And then matching products and the benefits of them products to provide a solution for whatever the problems are or the issues or the difficulties that your prospect is facing. So looking back on these 10 areas, you know, whether it be persistency, whether it be friendly, whether it be questioning, whether it be listening, whether it be closing sales, whether it be dealing with objections, whether it be summarizing, clarifying, or whether it be a belief that you have to get yourself. All of these 10 key areas are attributes that good salespeople have. Some of these areas you can learn easier than others. Other areas are probably more difficult to learn. But the reality is, to be good in sales, you have to have these areas. So when people say, what does make a salesperson? This list isn't too far away from some of the key things that make a salesperson. So with that, I'm going to leave it there for now, because this is just a session on what are the key attributes that are necessary, and all of these things are necessary, and we'll move on to another session on the video training exercise, covering some of the skill sets necessary to sell in training. But for now, thanks for listening, and hope you got something out of that. Thank you.